If you are the kind of a person who follows news on technology or events that are happening in the technology world, then most likely you've heard about this new Chinese AI model called Deepseek, and it's trending right now. Everybody is talking about it. And the reason why it's trending is because it's more efficient than the AI model that is most used now, that is OpenAI. And it's also apparently been produced or developed with a very small budget, while OpenAI spent like 5 billion or more than that. Apparently, the Chinese spent like 5 million. That's like a drop when you compare to what the Americans spend. And then they produce something that is more efficient. And also, another reason why it's DeepSeek is trending is because the Chinese were constrained. Not only, of course, they could raise money to match what OpenAI spent, which is like 5 billion. So that's on the side of budget. It's not really that they could raise the money, but what is even more interesting is that a few years back, when Trump was president, his first term, he did ban American companies from selling Chinese the microchips that you can use to develop computing power. AI models need a lot of computing power. So the Chinese don't have a source of that. For some reason, they can't develop their, or they can't build their own, or they rely on the Americans to supply them with these chips. But after Trump kind of like banned or barred the American companies from selling the Chinese these chips, the Chinese have nevertheless been able to develop this AI model without access to very powerful chips. So that has also made people talking like they've achieved they've built this kind of like superior AI model without access to superior hardware, and they've used a very small amount of budget. And this also comes at the time when Trump is again the president. And just a few days after being sworn into office, Trump signed an executive order that is meant to make the US the capital of crypto and AI. But then the Chinese released this model, the DeepSeek, that is turning out to be a lot better than what the Americans have developed so far. And also, the Chinese go ahead and make it open source, which means developers from around the world can just pick this model and use it to build their own applications. So that's kind of like a threat to the American hold on technology. And everybody's saying AI is the next big thing, and these superpowers are competing. The race has basically started to see who is going to be the leader in AI, and the country that becomes the leader of AI is basically going to rule the world. That's what the smart people are saying anyways. AI is such an important technology that these countries are fighting over. But here is my random thought. What AI development, to me, it makes me ask myself a few questions, like who are we as humans? Or it also makes me think of this verse in the book of Genesis, the Bible, and there's this verse that says, in the beginning there was word, and word blah blah blah. If you've read the Bible, you know that verse. And it makes me think everything we see is word, everything we see around us is code, is word. For thousands of years, we've always thought that intelligence has to be with humans, and if not with humans, then with the gods or God. But then now we are forced to face this reality of, okay, intelligence can exist outside of us humans and maybe outside of gods or God if you believe in God. Intelligence can exist outside of that. And because now we have these AI models that are coming out, they are turning out to be very efficient, and we are just at the beginning. We are likely to see a lot of development in the next 10 years or 20 years. We are likely to see very efficient AI models. We are likely to see very intelligent applications. We are likely to see very intelligent robots coming up and being developed. And then I take this random thought further, and I'm thinking like, okay, let me take you into an imaginary world that might turn out to be a real world. We are in this world where we humans have built very smart applications, very smart robots that become basically like humans. They can compute like humans, they can build like humans, And then at some point, they are so as good as humans in almost every aspect. And then at some point, something happens and we humans just fall off. We cease to exist. Maybe it's some virus that comes along and wipes us all out. But then at that point, the robots can take care of themselves. They can regenerate, they can rebuild, they can build themselves, they can continue thriving without humans because they are intelligent enough to build more robots. And then over time, these robots are reproducing, of course, through manufacturing or whichever way they might be able to do it. And then they keep the stories of the humans who existed a long time ago. It's 1,000, 2,000 years later, they are like, or 3,000, or even 10,000 years, they're like, there were these humans who created us, and they were the gods who disappeared and we no longer have them around. It's just a random thought. And then you start thinking, there's this belief among different societies of gods who are there before, who created us humans. And you're like, suppose it's the same thing that is repeating itself. Those are my random thoughts.